Not too long ago, a friend of mine put me onto a totally new fairy tale game that just so happened to be a roguelite. You see, I'm not into those games much myself, but I have a few pals that love these things to death. They put me on to stuff like Balatro, Slay the Spire, Risk of Rain, and my favorite Vampire Survivors. So seeing that a fan favorite anime like Fairy Tail had one of these games too, I got a little curious about how it would play. And for only 14 bucks, there's plenty of other worse games that I could buy on Steam. They even had a bundle with another Fairy Tail volleyball game that I'm sure we'll talk about in a little bit. So using what I know from the roguelites I have played, let's dig into Fairy Tail Dungeons and see if this lives up to the genre or if it's some bargain bin shovelware. The story starts us off in the Fairy Tail Guild's basement when a strange door appears. This door leads to a labyrinth where all magic power is useless. Natsu, Happy, and the rest of the gang end up getting sucked into the labyrinth where they need to fight their way through and find the secrets that lie within. They also meet a new cat character named Labby who's looking for his friend who just so happens to be in the middle of the labyrinth. And that's not totally ominous or weird at all, but along the way you come across plenty of other characters from the series like Mirabelle, Gagio, and Kana. But of course you also run into plenty of monsters who want to take you out and send you right back to the entrance. So without having access to magic, how do you actually fight these guys? That part is where Kana comes into play. Kana uses her own magic to create cards that each character can use to pull off different attacks. And that goes for offense, defense, healing, and even stat buffs. The main point is to put together combinations of cards during your turn so you can attack or prepare for whatever your opponents are about to set up on their turns. And the cards you find in each run depend on what character you'll be using. So obviously Natsu wouldn't be able to find Gray's cards since he can't use ice magic. But if you get certain cards from NPCs, you can call them into battle as part of your attack chain. Even still, you have a lot of options in battle, including magic chains when you select card combos. These combos can do some crazy stuff, and when you start unlocking more of them, things get a lot more interesting. But of course, you have to work your way through to earn those combos. As you play, you'll get crystals to upgrade the skill trees for every character. Each skill tree can either unlock new combos, new card upgrades, or permanent stat buffs. For me, it didn't take too many runs to start getting a lot unlocked on the skill trees, but expect to do at least 2 or 3 runs before you get to a solid point. You know, unless you're a roguelite god and you only need to do 1 run to defeat everything. Even still, there's some good replay value here since you need to play a few times to check out each character. And I love how Natsu, Lucy, Erza, Gray, and Wendy feel totally different from one another. They all have their own gimmicks that match up well with the magic that they normally use. So Wendy will have a lot of cards that will give buffs to herself and allies and make the whole team feel overpowered. And then there's Natsu, who's more well-rounded but still great at dealing out damage. So some of the strategies you'd get comfortable doing with one person may not even work with the rest of them. And I've seen some complaints that there's only 5 characters, but I think it's fine as it is. You get a decent amount of gameplay from everybody, especially if you want to try to unlock everything or just beat the game once with everyone. And it would be cool if Gagio wasn't just an NPC, but again, for right now I'm fine with it. The whole dungeon is broken up into 3 sections, with the first one being the one you'll play through the most. After completing 1 run with a character, you'll unlock a tome with all the cards and upgrades you got from that run. It helps give you a reason to try for better runs because you'll get better and better tomes the more you do. And to get to the 2nd and 3rd level of the dungeon, you'll need more than 1 character to have a tome unlocked. So that means that you gotta beat the first level of the dungeon with at least 3 characters before you can even think about finishing the game. It's not bad though, since you get a chance to really see how everyone plays, and it helps you make better teams for the harder fights ahead. Because trust me, when you get to that 3rd level, you're gonna have all of your skills tested. Things can get pretty repetitive if you're not really into the flow of the battles, but luckily this whole game doesn't overstay its welcome. It's the kind of game that you can spend hundreds of hours in to unlock all the different skills, cards, items, and abilities. Or if you just want to beat it once and never touch it again, it's not hard to do that in under 10 hours without a problem. For what it is and how much it costs, Fairy Tail Dungeons does everything it needs to do. It has has a fun, original story with some strategic and addictive gameplay, and it doesn't do too much to overstay its welcome. If you're cool with everything that roguelites have to offer and you're a fan of Fairy Tail, then there's no reason that you shouldn't give this a shot. Plus, the devs are still adding in more updates, including new playable characters, balance changes, and all new cards. They even said they're going to add some cards that feature the main character from Rave Master, which is another great series made by Hiro Mashima. So maybe down the line we'll also see characters from Eden Zero. And I didn't expect them to do all this, but it sounds like this game is going to be worth much more than $14 pretty soon. Oh, and one thing I forgot to mention is that this game was part of a project called Fairy Tail Indie Game Guild. So both Dungeons and Beach Volleyball Havoc were both indie games published by Kodansha. And you might ask why that even matters, but as far as anime games go, this is pretty cool. How many anime series go the route of just doing an arena fighter and calling it a day? If you ask me, it's way too many, and after a while you just get bored of it. Now, it would be cool to see Fairy Tail finally get some kind of action game or fighting game, but I digress. The point is that most anime licensed games would never try to branch out the way that Fairy Tail is. Having the first major worldwide releases be things like a turn-based RPG, a roguelite, and a PvP volleyball game is insane. So maybe these companies can take notes and give us a little more variety in the future. Hell, even Death Note is out here dropping a whole Among Us type game out of nowhere, so props to them too. But let me know your thoughts on Fairy Tail Dungeons in the comments. Do you want to see more games like this coming out from your favorite anime? Subscribe for more videos just like this one, and I'll see you all in the next video.